G'day everyone, welcome to Monetize Your Mission, how to uncover your greatest gift, make money doing what you love, and have the contribution that you want to make to your family, your community, and beyond. And today, this is going to blow your mind. I have been looking forward to Vanessa for such a long time, since I spoke with her about 2 weeks ago. And if you think you can't make money with something that you love, today is going to blow your mind. Like completely. Listen to who Vanessa is. She is the Crafty Gemini. Vanessa Wilson is a sewing and quilt pattern designer and instructor. She's mostly known for her clear and concise instructional YouTube videos. Her channel, the Crafty Gemini, has over 287,000 subscribers, and her tutorials have been viewed 27 million times worldwide. Quilting, people, quilting. She was a law professor, now turned entrepreneur. Vanessa now shares her lifestyle and crafty skills with a global audience via the web. She teaches viewers how to do everything from sewing, quilting to organic gardening and even woodworking projects. Her work has been featured on ABC's 2020 and the New York Times, as well as magazines like Quilty and Modern Quilts Unlimited. She's the first generation American and a native Spanish speaker. She's earned her BA and a Juris Doctor from the University of Florida. Today she lives on an organic homestead in Florida with her husband, 2 young homeschool children, and a 40-plus farm animals. Can you hear that? Vanessa, welcome.
Hi, Rita.
I'm pretty excited because usually when people are monetizing their mission, it's something traditional.
Yeah.
So you have found a niche. First of all, let me track back a bit. How did you come across quilting, crafting? How did it all come about?
Okay. So I was quite the crafty kid growing up. My mom was a single mom and we were 4 kids, so we didn't have much money, but we were very resourceful. You know, my mom was an immigrant to this country, and she worked in the garment district in New York City making clothes in the 60s, getting paid per piece. So as a teenager, she was very fast. So she could make a little money because she was fast on those industrial machines. So, she grew up on a farm in Dominican Republic and just, immigrants, like the resourcefulness, the making do with what you have. That's kind of how I grew up. I grew up in Miami, Florida, and we were quite crafty. We'd go to thrift stores and buy, say, like board games that were incomplete, and we'd create the parts and the pieces so that we could play the games. Like little things like that we didn't let it stop us and say like, oh, well, you can't play the game because you're missing the pieces. I would invent the pieces and just recreate things so I can make the game work for me. Well, when I was 8 years old, I asked my mother to teach me how to sew. And because she worked in the garment district, sewing so fast with industrial machines, she would often sew her finger under. Okay? So she would pass out literally, and she was traumatized that would happen to us. So she refused, as you can imagine, refused to teach me how to sew. So every couple of years I'd ask her, when I was 10, when I was 12, she'd say, no, you're not old enough, because the sewing machine we had at home was an industrial machine. So sometime when she was gone, I would turn the machine on and just press the foot pedal, and that thing stitched, like 2,000 stitches per minute. It was so fast.
Wow.
I was dying to get into it, but I never did because she wouldn't let me. But and when I was in law school, in my second year of law school, I hated every second of it. I never wanted to be an attorney, and I was looking like I needed a creative outlet. Okay. I would write papers and they all had to be footnoted. I had to quote other people. Like I didn't have a voice. I couldn't say anything. So I needed an outlet. And so I finally call my mom and I tell her, look, I'm 22. I can keep my finger away from the needle. You're going to teach me how to sew. So she went to a yard sale and bought a sewing machine from the 60s for $10. Brought it to my house, showed me how to thread it and use it. And I just went off. I took old jeans from my closet, cut them up, turned them into a purse myself with no patterns. I was just like, it was amazing to me to see how a machine could stitch together the 2 layers so that I could then, with the most fluid medium that I could imagine, fabric, it's textiles, you can create anything, literally anything you want from it. I just run it through this machine and it holds 2 pieces together. So I can make any 3-dimensional object, anything I wanted. And I just took off from there. I've always made stuff, and I like functional and practical projects. So even cooking and baking, I would decorate cakes. And for me, it was like, this is artwork in the decoration of the cakes, and then you get to eat it. It was like, this can't get any better. And then I found fabric, and it was like, you can take this piece of fabric and make something for your dog, or make something for your car, make something for your head, make something for your feet. You know what I mean? Like home decor or a bag to wear to school. Like you can turn it into anything. And that just like blows my mind.
That's incredible. Did you actually practice law before going into?
Never. Oh my gosh, I was a paralegal at an immigration law firm for about 3.5 years. And I was pretty much the only one there that spoke Spanish. So I had my hands in everything at an immigration law firm in Florida. So I thought maybe that was the route that I would take, because I liked helping my people, you know, and just having my hands in that kind of, I'm a people person and very extroverted. So that was one of the areas of law that I found that you interact a lot with the people. But after, you know, at the end of the day, it's still paperwork. Yeah. And I hated it. It was just so boring. It was just like a number, you know, like write this, a paper, another form, another sheet. And I was just like, not going to happen. So what I did after law school is I worked as an admissions officer at my university where I went to school, because I did that all throughout college, undergrad, and even in law school. I like helping people. So kids that were unsure of what their major could be, or I want to go to law school, but I'm not sure what to major in. I like talking to those people, even though I hated law school and I never wanted, you know, but my bachelor's degree is in anthropology. So I had to go to graduate school. So I'm like, I have to do something. So I just went to law school. I thought law school sounds like it has some pull, you know, maybe it'll help me figure something out. So that's why I went. And so I didn't turn it down to everybody. Like I didn't tell them, you know, law school is terrible. It just wasn't for me. But I like telling people about it, the experience, and having them, you know, helping them to figure out if this is something for them or not. So after that, then I got married, was pregnant, and then to help my husband earn, you know, add some additional income to the house, I picked up a job as an adjunct professor teaching at a college in their paralegal program. So I taught law classes there, which I actually enjoyed because, again, I like teaching, I like helping people, and a lot of these students were career-changing students. You know, they did something else and now they wanted to change and they wanted to be paralegals. And so what I liked the most about that, aside from helping the students, is that it was not in theory. This is real life, paralegal. The attorney needs you to do this. This is what you do. I like functional, realistic, practical skills, you know, not in theory. So I really enjoyed that. And then about 3 years into that, it was part-time because we had the kids and I was nursing them all the time, you know, for 2 years each kid. And so my husband would come home from his 9-to-5 job, take the child for an hour. I would rush to class, teach, and then come back. And so that allowed us to earn some extra income, but still keep our priorities in place, which was for me to be with the kids and things like that. And so after about 3 years of that, I quit and then just focused solely on my business.
So when you started your business, that was the time you were a paralegal doing part-time work, and then you kind of transitioned?
No. I didn't. We didn't jump into this until after my son was born. After our first child in August 2009, okay. Well, when I was pregnant with him, I would make stuff, right? I was sewing. So I'd sew the stuff and I'd post it on my personal Facebook page. And so my friends were also in their mid-20s and they'd say, hey, my cousin's having a baby. Can I put in an order? So I said, yeah, you know, I wasn't working. So let me just earn some extra income. So then quickly it was like people wanted 30 cloth diapers and 10 diaper bags. You know, like everybody wanted the same things. And I told my husband, you know what? As a creative person, I only want to make it one time. This is not a sweatshop. I'm not trying to go into creating inventory. This is not for me. So he says, well, instead of making it for them, why don't you teach people how to do it and teach classes? So I did. And so at the local community college, I taught through community education. And I taught some private lessons in my house and the extra room that we had and things like that. And then quickly it was like the exact same classes over and over. So I tell him, if I have to teach these classes one more time, I'm going to freak out. So he says, calm down. Let's videotape you doing the lesson and post it on YouTube. So if anybody asks you for it, send them the link and tell them to leave you alone. So that way I only have to make the project one time ever because it's archived in video footage, right? So I'm like, you're a genius. Let's do it. And that's how we started.
Oh my goodness. Your husband has been like...
Oh, he's the genius. You should, if you've talked to my kids, they'll be like, my dad is the genius with all the ideas and my mom makes it happen.
You guys are a great duo.
It is. No, it's a fabulous team because he's very here. like all these fabulous ideas. And I'm like, okay, come down to earth. How is that going to work? You know, so I take his very lofty, I mean, just awesome ideas. It's like, yeah, that sounds great in theory. Let's make it, you know, the logistics behind that. How is that going to work? And so we found a really good medium, and it works.
That's God's gift to you, the two people coming together. Seriously. Tell me, you teach people now how to make quilts.
That's right.
All things textile, right? How to use this thing called material. Like, how on earth, because there are plenty of people out there doing that stuff, but they're not living the lifestyle that you're living. Yeah. So girlfriend, tell me, how is it that you're monetizing this?
Okay. So I monetize it in a ton of different ways. I think because we started off with a business that we've kind of created our own career path online, I don't have a business background. So I didn't come into it already with kind of like, you need a business plan. This is, you know what I mean? Like all these business type of checklist thing. I don't have any of that. I just invented whatever I thought would work. Try something. It doesn't. Try something else. And so because we went into it like that with no limitations, because there was no set plan, I think I look at businesses and business models completely different than most traditional entrepreneurs do. Because of the internet, my entire business was created and has evolved just via the internet. So the same way that we started creating these YouTube videos so that I only ever have to do the work one time, but it's posted to YouTube indefinitely, and I continue to make revenue off the advertisements, for example. That's one revenue stream, off the advertisements that run on the YouTube videos. I did the work back in 2009, but that video is still earning me money. So because from the initial step into this world of entrepreneurship, my goal has been do the work once, get paid forever. My entire business model is shaped around passive income. And so that's how I try to set up my revenue streams. So one is the advertisement from YouTube. Another is, well, as you know, on YouTube, the audience is watching the videos and that's free for them. So my viewers are not directly paying me for that, right? The advertisements are based on the amount of views that the video gets. And so I quickly realized, you know, you can't live off of YouTube ad revenue money alone. It fluctuates all year round, and it's not that much. It's not what people think, like, oh, you're a YouTube sensation, you're rich. I wish. So I quickly had to figure out a way to monetize these free followers in a way that I could still make some income, but not directly from the consumer, because they're, you know, they watch the video for free. So I started reaching out to companies whose products I already use and love and tell them, hey, do you want to sponsor one of my tutorials and host a giveaway as well, so that I could make some additional money based on the sponsored post, and still, again, continue to add value to my viewers' lives and continue to give them quality content for free for them, but so that I could actually earn some income, you know? And so I started doing sponsored posts. I have done some speaking gigs and things like that, just like what we're talking about here, and how I've done what I do. I sold way back when I started. I didn't have any money to like print out or create actual tangible products that I could ship out to people. So that's another way that I came up with an idea to monetize my skills and my talents in another way that wasn't just video, by selling PDF patterns. So different sewing projects and quilting projects, a pattern for us is like it's just like a PDF document you download, and there's template pieces or sizing charts and things, and then the step-by-step instructions on how to create the actual project. And so I started selling those as PDFs. So again, I do the work one time and I continue to get paid every time it sells. And so I was able to keep the cost really low. Like one of my most popular patterns is this basic, super simple pillowcase dress pattern for little girls made out of fabric. It's supposed to look like a pillowcase, but I sold it for $3. And people were like, how are you going to make any money selling it for $3? Well, $3 plus $3 plus $3 plus $3 for something that took me 2 weeks, you know, here and there with a baby, a newborn here and there doing it. I mean, from then till now has made me thousands upon thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? And I don't even remember making the project. Like, it's so far in the past.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started doing those things too. You know, spend the time making the patterns, and then every time somebody buys it, the system I use automatically emails it to them. So I have zero overhead costs. I don't have to ship anything. I don't have any printing costs to incur. I just literally make money in my sleep. Like, I wake up when I go to bed, and then I wake up the next morning, there's money in my PayPal that wasn't there when I went to bed. So this is one of the things around passive income for me too, and having a web-based business, is that when I'm sleeping, you guys on the other side of the world are awake.
Yes.
Internet, watching my videos and buying my patterns. So for me, seeing like an actual, like a mom and pop shop, I don't even understand how a regular store, the business model behind it, because to me, it's like, well, when you shut the doors, there's zero way for you to make money. And then you have to pay for the building, the lights, the electricity. Like that just blows my mind because my business is so far in a different direction. Because I base it all off of passive income. And for me and my temperament and personality, I have to do that because I'm always looking for the next cool thing to jump into. So if I had to work for every single penny, I would not have the flexibility to jump around and do different projects. Do you know what I mean? So I work hard at something, I set it in place, and I leave it working for me. Then I do something else, set that project in place, and leave it working for me. So another way that I've monetized my business, aside from those things, is I used to do some sponsored blog buttons for companies that wanted to get their products in front of my audience just with a button on the sidebar of the blog. And for that, it's super simple. It's just like, here are my numbers, how many people I have viewing my blog, and this is what I charge. Do you want to sponsor the blog or not? Another way is last year we launched, well, at the end of 2014, we launched an online Quill Club. Now, this was my husband's genius idea. And I was like, it's great. How is it going to work? And so I actually read this book called Launch. It's by this guy named Jeff Walker. Amazing, amazing entrepreneur. Tons of information for other entrepreneurs that I definitely recommend. The book is basically a step-by-step formula on how to take whatever your skill set is, your ideas, whatever you teach, and launch an e-product, either whether it be an e-book, an electronic online course, video classes, whatever it is. And so I took what I had been building, as far as my email list, my loyal following over all the years. I took that with what he told me to do in that book for the launch. And I crossed my fingers. My husband was like, you got to do this for this, to launch an online quilt club, which is like it's like a quilt guild. Like people meet in their local areas at their shops and stuff, either weekly or monthly. But this was online, all based via video. And to see if I can take some of that audience that was my loyal followers, but weren't directly paying me for anything. If I could get a group of them to actually pay me directly to kind of elevate what they were getting from me for free on a paid level. And so we launched that. I mean, I went from idea to launch in 2 months. And in 5 days that I launched it, I had over 500 paying members. I was like, seriously looking at my PayPal, like, oh my gosh, they're actually paying me. This is going to work. My husband's like, I told you.
So that's a pinch yourself moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like there is a hole in the market for anybody to do anything. You know what I mean? Like a niche in a niche in a niche. People have no idea that in quilting, first of all, here, at least in the United States, it's almost a $4 billion per year industry. If you have no idea about quilting, you're like, quilting? No. And I'm like, yes. So the same way that people react that way to quilting, there's so many other niches out there that you can make a business in. You just have to, I think the base of it is quality content, something that's adding value to people's lives, and something that is worth the effort on your end. Not that you just think, oh, this is a great idea. There's nobody doing this. Let me try to do it. If you don't have the passion behind it and it's not worth your time, then you're not going to be able to capitalize on that niche. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, Vanessa, I think with yourself, the reason why, because you could have done dresses, you could have done handbags. Why did you choose quilting specifically?
It's what I like the most. Years ago, we were trying to decide if I should just go one route or the other. And my husband says, no, don't limit yourself, because you know that on the side, you're still going to be doing these other things. And if you post a picture on social media, people are going to ask you for the tutorial. So you can't just say, I'm only going to do this. Because I thought, well, I'm too scattered. And he's like, but that's how you are. You're like gardening 1 second and the next minute you're finishing a handbag. And that's how I am. So we decided early on that we were just going to run with it and just build a business on the brand, like a lifestyle brand. So it's like I tell people, I literally make a living just living my life. Everything I do. I make a batch of strawberry jam with my kids. Then we go work in the garden. I go milk a cow, and then I come in here and make a quilt. Like That's just how I
Your life. That's just, I know that sounds. So let me ask you this: so you monetize the channels in which you monetize is obviously advertising. You've got the blog buttons. You've got the sponsor posts, and then you've got your membership.
That's right.
So how does that membership work? So if someone's looking to start a membership, is it once a month that you email out to the group of people? How does that work for you?
So my Quill Club is it's quite a lot that they get. So for me, I do a live stream because what I do is video. Everything I do is video instruction. These people are obviously paying me to get video instruction. So every week I meet with them live on camera for a live stream session where we kind of chat. It's like getting together with a group of girlfriends and boyfriends, because we have guy quilters in there. And, we get together and we chat, and sometimes I sew, I do demos, or I'll do kind of product reviews. I'll say like, hey, I just ordered this. This is how it works good. I don't know. We kind of just chat back and forth 1 hour every week. Every 2 weeks, I post a tips and tricks video, like a quickie video, tips and tricks in quilting. Every month, I feature a different project that I design, a quilted project. Sometimes it's handbags, a wallet, a quilt, whatever, like it just depends on different things. Every month, they get a new project. For the entire year, we do a mystery quilt, which means basically the first in January, I tell them what they need, but they don't know what the design of the quilt is. And then we start in the next month, I teach them one component of it. Okay, cut these pieces, make this piece. The next month, cut these pieces. So every month it's a clue, but you don't know what the finished design is going to look like till we get to the end. And I tell you, okay, all these components that you made, now rearrange them this way and sew them together. So it's a mystery quilt. Wow. My Quill Club members also get first dibs on any of my quilt retreats. So this is another way that I monetize my business. I host my own quilt retreats here in Florida, where people travel from all over to come spend 4 days with me, just sewing, quilting, chatting. We do giveaways. They get goodie bags, t-shirts. I'm telling you, the one in October, we had women come from 15 different states in the US and 2 Canadian provinces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quilting.
Yeah, quilting, you heard it. And so I did one in October, and I just did one 2 weeks ago here in Florida. And we had people from all over the US. For those 2 retreats, I had to do lotteries because they were so popular. So I only had a limited number of spaces, and I had like 3 times the number of people that wanted to go. So I had to do a lottery to get them the spots. And so now I've actually just launched for my Quill Club 3 retreats this fall. And 1 is sold out, and the other 2 are less than half. Like there's less than half of the spots left to go, and I haven't even opened it to the public yet.
Wow.
So get first dibs, and then I open it to the public, and it'll go like that.
And so you've got your own community that you email out to.
I do. The Quill Club is on a private website. So they have their own login information. And so that way it keeps it so that it's just the paying members have access to all the information. We have announcements pages. I work with different vendors, shops, and sewing machine shops and things to give them exclusive discounts just for Crafty Gemini Quill Club members. So I do a lot of different things that adds value to them.
And with the evolution of your programs and what things you add in, like the retreats that you're adding onto, how do you know that's going to do you survey the current members and say, what are you looking for? What's the next step? Is that how you're working with it?
No, I mean, quilt retreats have been going on forever and a day, and people love them. So last summer, I hosted 2 up at a really popular quilt shop in Missouri called Missouri Star Quilt Company. And they have their own retreat center that they are constantly cranking out retreats. So I hosted 2 last year. And that's when I posted that because I told them, yeah, okay, I'll do a retreat, And so I launched it to my Quilt Club members only. And it was the fastest retreat to sell out of all the retreats that they've ever had. It sold out in less than 5 hours, and like midnight to 5 a.m. It wasn't even during the day. One of the girls found the webpage and she posted it, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's up. And I'm like, wait, what? It's already live? And they're like, oh, it's going to sell out. I was up till 5:30 in the morning with them because they were like waking up their moms, waking up their husbands, like, can I go? I need to book the spot. It was insane.
Oh my
goodness. When I saw the hype around that, I was like, oh yeah, quilt retreats is where it's at.
You're hilarious. What I love about you're just so casual. You're just so
because you have to be, like we don't have a plan. So we've grown our business completely organically. And our main thing is that we keep in line with our priorities and our values, right? Mm-hmm. So because my family is my number one priority, I had to make whatever money making job, anything we have, work around that versus making your family work, your situation work around your income. We did it the other way around. So as long as we always keep our main values in place, I will find a way to carve out anything to make that work. You know, I don't.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, Vanessa, because you are a mum of two.
Mm-hmm.
And you have been doing this. So and I'd love you to speak to that about how have you managed to make that leap and then continue to juggle with kids, husband, household, entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. So last year when we launched the Quill Club, like I said, in 5 days, you know, I had over 500 paying members. So the next month, my husband quit his job. I was like, okay, you're free. Quit. He's been super supportive. So over the years, I mean, sometimes we sit in bed and I just think back. I'm like, you remember when I used to come into my studio because we didn't have money to have somebody finish the interior of this workshop. So I did all the installation, the painting. I got a neighbor to help me with some of the drywalling. And I just would get on YouTube videos, how to drywall the wall. And I would watch it and learn. And so every night from like 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., I would come in here to drywall with a newborn. So my husband would page me from the house phone to the phone I had in my studio. It would just beep. So I knew that the baby was awake. I would walk in literally with drywall compound all over, like my eyelashes practically glued shut, and like just stand there. He would lift up my shirt and nurse the baby on one side and nurse her on the other. And then I would go back to work. And like, when I think about that, I'm like, who does that? But when you're in the moment, you just do what you have to do. You know what I mean? Like
did you feel sorry for yourself in those moments? Going,
no.
Look at me, look at me.
No, I was like, I'm almost going to be done. And then I can say I finished this whole studio by myself. That's why I do it, you know, because my husband's not handy. You know, he didn't grow up like outdoorsy. You know, he grew up more like in school and stuff. And I like it. I like a challenge, you know, so I don't care what I have to do. I do it. It's fun. Like some of my videos, I think some of the most popular ones, I have a newborn baby strapped to my back. It's pitch black, as you can tell. It's like 2 a.m. and I'm filming a tutorial on my quilting machine. She woke up and I would have a little mattress for her here for my daughter. I would have a mattress for her here. So if she would wake up and my husband had to get up early, you know, for work, I sometimes would just bring her to the studio with me, nurse her, put her down, and then just keep quilting. But if she would stay up and she didn't go back down, I would just put her on my back. And she's as content as can be, and I can keep on filming.
You are an that's just inspirational with a capital I.
But it shows, I mean, it goes, and I get it a lot in the comments and things, you know, it just shows people like, I'm so glad you did that, because it shows like, you're not perfect. You're just a mom, and like, you just do what you got to do, you know, in the garden. I have video tutorials of us gardening and like working the rows, and there's a baby on my back. And I mean, my life is not going to stop. I incorporate the kids in everything, you know?
And that's what's interesting, because your lifestyle is actually, because you homeschool the kids because you can. So if people come out, you don't even take them to school. Mm-mm. People come to the kids and
we're here. It's just us. So we're here. Yeah, we do it all here. And we follow something that's called unschooling. Mm-hmm, so it's not like a set curriculum, and it's not like today, 8 o'clock after breakfast, you're going to sit down and do your ABCs. We don't do that. The kids just learn through life. Everything that we do on a daily basis, you know, if we're cooking, we're baking, we're talking about math, you know, we need half of a cup. So this is half of a cup. This is 1 cup. What does it mean? You know what I mean? Like we just teach it in the same daily life experiences. Okay. And it's kind of like child-led learning. Whatever their interests are, that's kind of how we go. So for example, we'll be here on the farm. We see a snake eating one of our ducklings, and we're all like, there's a snake eating a duck. And so it's like learning experience, come on down. And so I start to tell the kids about how the snakes can open their jaws wider than they are, you know, to fit something bigger. And then my son got obsessed with snakes. So then we'd go to the library and check out 15 books on snakes. And then it's just snakes. He wants to learn about every poisonous snake. And so you kind of just let them guide it based on their interest. And so that's kind of.
And so how old are the kids?
They're 6 and 4.
Okay, fantastic. And you find that that's more convenient based on your lifestyle and based on their education, because it's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle thing. Yeah, we're quite radical, kind of hippie, you know, just let them do whatever they want. But that's how we do it.
But that's also because it really speaks to the values that you have. I mean, look at you. You're working with material. Make your own stuff. You're living on an organic farm.
Exactly. No, then that's our priority. You know what I mean? Like my family and this lifestyle, those are our priorities. So as long as I can continue to provide for my family in those ways and keep exposing them to these types of experiences, then, you know, whatever I got to do to make that part work is what I'll do.
So what would you say, Vanessa? Because how long have you been doing this for, by the way?
I started on YouTube in 2009, so 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And what on earth possessed you to put video tutorials on YouTube? Like, because you weren't getting money for that. I mean, did that click eventually? I'm working towards that.
No. It was because I didn't want to teach the same thing more than once. So my husband, you know, he was like, why don't we videotape it? And that way you only ever have to do it once. Send them the link and tell them to leave you alone. Well, then people from all over the world started writing me saying, hey, I saw this video. I finished this project. You know, can you do a video on this? Can you do a video on that? And I enjoyed it. It was fun for me. I like to help people. You know, people would write me and say, it would be a mom and her husband's in the military, so he'd be overseas. And she'd say, hey, I made your little dress. My daughter wore it to church on Sunday, and now people are placing orders. So now I have a little business. She's like, thank you so much. So I'm here telling my husband, like, with these skills that I'm teaching these people for free, I'm making jobs. Like, I'm creating jobs, like teaching these people skills that now allows them to earn some money for their family. That to me is why I do it. It's fun. I love helping people and teaching them things and encouraging them to see that they can do it too. It's not that hard.
So let me ask you this, Vanessa. Someone's in a 9-to-5 job or just a mum at home looking for something else to do that's going to feed their soul and feed physically their kids and their lifestyle. What would your advice be saying, I just don't know what to do or what idea to run with? What would you say?
My first thing is, and I think I've developed this idea based on my experience and how I'm able to look back and see like, oh, you know what? That did make sense. I have gone back to all the skills that I had as a child, skills that I had naturally and things that I enjoyed to do. You know, before you were conditioned to think education, get another degree, because that's what I was conditioned to think. You know, my mom was always like education. Even while in law school, I told her I hate this. She's like, well, finish it and get a PhD. Keep going to school until you figure it out. And I'm like, no, this is student loans. I don't have money for this. Okay. And so for me, ever since I was a child, I was always a teacher. I always helped people. I like to help people. And I always like to make things with my hands. I like to be resourceful. I like a good puzzle or a good challenge. And those, I mean, the things that I'm good at today are those things that I was naturally good at when I was a kid. I was the narrator for every one of my school plays from first grade. I mean, from when I was 5 and 6 years old. I was always the one. If there was a play going on about a storybook we read in school, I was the one at the podium reading the story to the people. I was never afraid of big crowds. I was always, you know, I always spoke in front of people, and I enjoyed to teach from like 7 years old. And that's what I do now. I'm in front of a camera and I talk, and people are like, do you write notes? I'm like, no, I don't rehearse anything. Everything I do is ad lib. I just turn the camera on and I go. So for me, what I would say to somebody who's looking to make a similar jump is to go back. And you may not be able to remember yourself, because I didn't really think about those things until I was able to connect it to and be like, you know what? This is the same thing today. I would go back and ask the adults, maybe teachers or parents or aunts and uncles and things when you were a kid, and ask them, what were you like as a child? What were you naturally good at? That they were like, wow, you know, the things that they used to tell you, like, you're really good at that you don't really think of. Those things, tap back into the skills that you naturally have and what you actually enjoyed as a child. What did you love to do? Like, I often tell people, like, I ask myself, if I didn't need any money, what would I still want to do every single day? And for me, that's create and teach. And so that's why I'm able to jump from craft to craft, because I don't get tired. I like to learn, and I'm a good teacher. So I think that those two, I learned something, and I don't have to become an expert in it. I just complete whatever the task is. And I'm like, oh, this was easy. I can teach this to somebody. And so right there, I can flip it and then teach somebody else the same task. So that, to me, I think if you tap back into the things that you're naturally good at and things that you enjoy to do, that combination there is always a winning combination. And everybody has their own, you know, natural talents that they're amazing at, that somebody else. For me, it's like singing. I look at people that can sing and it blows my mind. I'm like, how is that coming out of your mouth? How do you do that? I'm one of those people. I think I can learn anything, and I can learn anything except singing. I can't sing because I don't have it. Everything else I can learn. So I watch those corny like singing shows, and my husband's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just love to hear people sing because it blows my mind. It's like, if I could learn, because I like a challenge, but I just don't have it. So if you go back to the skills that you naturally have, I think the one thing about that part of it, is that it allows you to jump ahead. If there's somebody else who wants to do the same path as you, but they don't have that natural talent, they now have to start at step one to overcome that. So say you want to be a sports broadcaster, but you're scared to speak in front of a camera. You're way further behind than somebody like me who's like, turn the camera on, I'll go. You know what I mean? So tapping into the natural talents first, and the things that you enjoy, and try to find a combination along those lines. And I think,
and I think you spoke the complete truth, because when I teach people how to find what they're good at, we go into that. What did you do before conditioning came? That's perfect, and that's exactly what you're utilizing. So now that you have this awesome lifestyle, which I was asking you before this interview, do you pinch yourself? You know, because if you don't, I'm going to come over there and pinch you.
Oh, I do all the time. I look at my husband sometimes. I'm like, you're living the grand life. Like, this is, you know, we could just like, we're here just with our kids, go outside. It's a beautiful day, and no set schedule per se. It's just like, oh, I think I'll do, you know, I can be inspired by anything and just like, oh, this would make a great project. Let me go create it and teach it and then make money off of it. You know, like
incredible. It's incredible. Yeah, look, it's incredible. But what's really important is that you weren't, and that's what you said before, is you weren't an expert before you jumped. You just did it. You just got your head around it, and then went and monetized it.
Yep.
So you didn't wait 10 years for the degree or something.
You can't wait for anything. And that's oftentimes what we would get. Because we were young parents with like newborn babies and starting, people were like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we can't wait. You know, it's always like, well, in 5 years, I don't know. I do it now, and you just jump all head in. And now we're like thankful that we did, because now we can enjoy the kids still being young and our lifestyle of both of us being home. I mean, that was the goal. If I could get my husband to be home with us, that was the goal that I was going towards. Like, and it's funny because when you set these goals, it's like you have the goal, but you're like, seriously, how am I with quilting going to get my husband to quit a state job with benefits? Like, never, you know, but you're like, that's the goal. But you're like, really? I don't think so. But at least me, the realist. My husband's like, I always knew you could do it. And I'm like, did you? But did you really? So you just have to keep working towards it, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. And so now that you are at home with the kids and your husband's at home, if someone now is in a position, because we've covered before, if you're looking to jump, if someone's already jumped and is in the entrepreneurial space, but Vanessa, they're struggling. They're struggling to have consistent income, consistent revenue.
Yeah.
Of all the things that you've done to monetize the channels and ways, what would the number one recommendation be?
A subscription-based online.
Okay, subscription-based online.
Subscription-based. Whether it's, you know, because you can do subscription-based on a ton of different things, whether it's continuously putting out content or video lessons or online ebooks, like just something that's online. And I just say online because that's what I do, and because it's practically free. You know, I started my entire business without a dime. Like, there was no, when you go to these workshops and things on entrepreneurship, it's always like, try to find an investor. And for me, I'm like, an investor? I can't sleep at night knowing I owe somebody money already without being 100% sure that the business is going to be sustainable. You know, that's not me. So I prefer to take a slower, easier, more organic route. And I would definitely say something with a subscription base, because at least with the subscription base, it's an automatic payment. And another reason is because for myself, I have to do the same amount of work whether I have 5 members or 5,000. Yeah. So that's something else. If you have a following or you build up an email newsletter list, if you have 30 clients that sign up for the subscription base, you at least know that those 30, you know, as you are continuously coming in, the revenues coming in, while you can then continue to do the same work and then reach out for other venues to gain more clients to add to that group, you know, because you're always going to have people that drop or whatever in the subscription base, but at least if it's subscription based, you can have some kind of continuity in the revenue that's income. Which is, I think, is a perfect timing, because I know as part of this interview, Monetize Your Mission interview series, you're so generous as you are, and you love helping people, and you're giving 2 gifts away as for those people who are actually listening to us right now. And could you please talk about the 2 gifts that you're offering to our viewers? Sure. The 2 gifts are 2 PDF documents that I have put together based on my experience, my kind of tips and tricks. One is on how I make money in my sleep and how you can make money in your sleep. That's what I call it. Literally, that's what I call it, because it makes more sense. Like, seriously, I go to sleep, I wake up, there's money in the PayPal. You know, it wasn't there. It's genius. It's like, why doesn't everybody do this? It's a 1-page PDF document with kind of my tips and things, and they're actual action tips that you can apply right now, wherever stage you're at in your business plan, on how to make money in your sleep, otherwise known as, passive income or residual income. And the other is on using YouTube for business. YouTube is a massive platform. A lot of people don't know, but YouTube is the second largest search engine after Google. So the same way people are going to google.com to search, with search engine optimization things, it's really hard to get on that first page of Google. But if you're doing quality videos, it's way easier to get on the first page of YouTube if somebody's doing the same search. So it doesn't have to be instructional videos. For me, it happens to be instructional videos, which is genius, because if you have something that you can do with instructional videos, they're evergreen, right? The content doesn't expire. It's not based on a specific thing. 10 years from now, you can type in how to use a sewing machine, and my video from 2009 is going to show up, and it's the same way, how to use a sewing machine. So if you can come up with something like that to start creating videos of even short quality videos, using the proper keywords and things that will make your business stand out, that people maybe are searching for, will find you in the video talking about it. Different tips on how to do that kind of stuff. And I think every business should. YouTube is free.
Yeah.
And it works for you 24/7 all around the world. It's like, why is every business not on YouTube? I mean, that's how I see it.
Excellent. And I think they're brilliant. So how to make money while you sleep.
Yeah.
Hello.
And using YouTube for business.
How to use YouTube for business. And those links, guys, will be in the email that's been sent to you. So those links were there. So click on it and you'll get access to Vanessa's absolute wealth of gold that she has. And it's not like it's a theory, like she says, it's no theory.
Nope, I've applied it. It's from my experience, because another thing is, since we created this path, I didn't have any mentors. I didn't know anybody that did anything like this. And so I wish I would have had somebody. So that's why I like to give the information out. And oftentimes I get asked, well, you're giving people your tips and tricks. And I'm like, so you're not me and I'm not you. You know what I mean? I can tell you everything that I do, and you're still going to find a different way to apply it, because you're not me, and I'm not you. So I have no problem sharing, information with people to help other people do the same thing, because I find that so many people are struggling. And I'm like,
I love that abundance mindset. I love that. It's struggle street. It's my stuff. It's
it's the internet. There's room for everybody.
Look at you. I love it. Now, Vanessa, before you wrap up, I'm finding something very interesting about you, just speaking with you. And that is, there is an intensity to you that I find that it's so rare. Okay. And I want to just, before I end, because I have to get inside your head now, because people will say, step one, do this, do that, but there's a different sense of energy that I'm getting from you. And I don't even know how to articulate that, to ask you to explain it to me and to us. What is that about you?
I'm just very extra, which a lot of people find very annoying. It's like so much in your face, But for me, and I think that this goes into my teaching style, and when I do speaking gigs, I'm so passionate about it that it's like, people open your, I'm one of those people that I try to help people, but you can't help somebody unless they want to help themselves. And that part of it really frustrates me, because I'm like, if you really want it, you can do it, and they're just like, oh, you're so lucky. And no. Listen, you put in the work and you get the results. And that's just, I think it has to do with the way I was raised and my work ethic. I naturally have a lot of energy to begin with. I don't drink any caffeine. I'd be up for 40 hours. I can't do it. My mother is in her 60s and she runs circles around me. So we're just, let's go, move. It's always do. Like, I always have to be doing something. And so part of it is it's a combination between my natural energy level, my passion for what I do, and then also my work ethic. There's no job that's beneath me. And my husband said that that's what attracted him to me. We used to work together, and there was something going on where, like, I had been working for a while, but they messed up something with my paycheck. So they hadn't paid me in like a month or something. And I was still working, busting my behind off, pulling signs out of the ground in like super hot Florida summer. And he was just like looking at me like, this girl is like, there's something about her, like, she's not even being paid for this, and she's still giving 100%, And I think that this is just my work ethic. Whether I'm getting paid or not, I always give my all. And so because I was putting so much, I think, into the free YouTube videos, my husband was like, if you put this amount of effort into something that doesn't pay you, imagine if we found something that you love to do and paid you. that's what we, that's the route that we were kind of trying to carve out exactly how we could do that.
Oh, that's just
it's a combination of all those things, I think.
Sweet. But I also think, Vanessa, you're talking about your resourcefulness as a kid. The fact that you were raised by a single mum, you just had to make it happen. Find a way, problem solve.
I love it. It's fun for me. I do best when people limit me. Like even when companies, when they want to do a sponsored post, they say, well, you can pick any product, any whatever. I said, no. You tell me what's the new product. What do you want to promote? What is the one thing that you'd like for me to highlight? Give it to me and I will design something around that. I like to have limitations and then I just create something massive around it, So the challenging part, or somebody telling me, oh, that can't work. It's like, oh, watch me. That's my drive. You know what I mean? Like that's what triggers me and gets me to act. Awesome. Yeah. I love a challenge.
Awesome. Yeah, obviously. And guys, how to make money while you sleep and how to use YouTube for your business. I don't even have to look at it. It's just, it speaks volumes to how Vanessa has come about to where she is. So go check it out. Go find out about it, because those are the golden gems that Vanessa's giving you, this free content to get inside her head and apply it to your own self.
Yep.
Vanessa, you've just been an absolute bomb. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad. Thank you for letting me share my story.
It's been a pleasure. And guys, go on and view Vanessa's videos and check out what she's doing. If you're into quilting, if you're into designing, if you're into wanting to know how she does it, get part of her list. And that's how you're going to really integrate with what she does. Wouldn't that be correct?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great way to do it. And this is something that I recommend for people to do. It's not so much as researching your competition, but it's seeing what other people are doing and picking out the nuggets that you like, because I'll watch some instructional videos and I'll say, oh, you know what, it would have been better if the angle of the camera would have been this way. And so I take those little, the way that I interpret other people's work and incorporate it into mine to make mine better. So that's another thing to do. Don't just block yourself out and do your own thing. Research who's out there doing similar things, or it might not even be in the same niche. You might be just researching other people and what they're doing. How are they reaching out to their email newsletter list? How are they plugging this product or that product? And that way you can pull little tidbits. I mean, at least that's what I did to grow my business, because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody with knowledge and information that could or would share it with me.
Yeah.
So I had to scrounge the internet trying to find out how are people doing this? Oh, I'd get an email from somebody and I'm like, oh, it's an email newsletter. Maybe I should start one of those. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And just kind of doing it that way without knowing what really was going on.
And just quickly, Vanessa, if you could do it all again, would you have gotten someone to show you the ropes? This is what you do with our step.
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe I would have gone, and you know what? Because even at the beginning when I first started and I would speak at conferences, I would kind of look around and say why are they here at this conference? I would never, I don't know. I think maybe it's because I'm cheap too, to pay all this money to go to a conference, to hear the same thing that I'm already thinking in my head, but I'm just scared to apply, which is what I found in a lot of these things. They collect all this money and they're telling you all these things. And I mean, it's very inspirational in hearing other people's stories. But the bottom line, like you say, the golden gems is stuff that I think a lot of entrepreneurs already know. They just are waiting for somebody else to tell them.
Oh,
I had my husband in my ear. So he would tell me all these things and I never would pay him attention. And then I would hear it from somebody else and he's like, that's the same thing I've been telling you for 5 years. And I'm like, you're right. But it's just you're waiting to hear from these successful people, then validate it and make it be like, oh yeah, what I was thinking was right because so-and-so made money off of it and they were saying the same thing. So for me, I was just like, you don't really need all that stuff, It's cool to get tips and tricks here kind of, or understand the basic premise of trying to run an online based business. I mean, the email newsletter list is your ticket to printing money. That's what Jeff Walker says in his books. And it's true. I had a list. I never used it. For what? I don't know what it was for. You know what I mean? And so then doing some research and being like, oh, this has some value. Yeah, I can email these people and tell them to buy this. Oh, let's try it.
Yeah.
I think that because I grew organically and I figured everything out like that on my own, it allows me to keep my values in place a little bit more in a way that I know what the important things for me are in my business and what's not. Versus here's a checklist, do all these things and you're going to be successful. I rather make the work that I'm doing and the way I'm running my business work around my main concern, which is my family, So it's like, yeah, this might be, I mean, I have tons of different things that I could do to make a lot more money, but I don't do them because it's not worth the time for me to be away from my family. You know what I mean? Like to grow my business in that sense. And we always, I mean, over the years, we have turned down a ton of opportunities because it wasn't in line with the end result of how we want to run our business. And so that's something that's really important to me, is to keep it small so that we're always in control of every decision and we don't ever let a paycheck control what we're going to do. You know?
Love it.
I've had companies reach out to me and tell me like, hey, do you want to do an endorsement on your farm for, and then I'm like, for what? And they're like, for an allergy med. And I'm like, me, I would never push a pharmaceutical. I'm like, how dare you even ask me? No, but it's not a commercial. It's kind of an endorsement. I'm like, never, you know? So it's, for me, it's like literally, I don't care how much you pay me. I'm never going to do that. And so it's like value inventory. You know, these are always our things and we always go back to them. If they're not in line with our values, we're not going to do it. So we just, as slow or as fast as a business would grow, just making sure that they're in line with our values. Oh,
love it, love it, love it. Vanessa, thank you so much for the wealth.
Thank you, Rita. I know we went out there. We go over on time. We sure did. I love to.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And guys, check out Vanessa's stuff. And like you see, it's just the passion oozing out of her. And I'll catch you soon. But guys, thank you so much for watching. And Vanessa, as always, we've spoken before. And for this time, thank you wholeheartedly.
No problem. Thank you, Rita.
Thanks, guys.